Alright, part 178, 338, 5, shifting rings. This tank is not required to provide the shifting rings except for prescribed section 8 of the ASME code. A jacket excavated with a construction compliant with the shifting rings may be used to meet the requirements 178, 338, 6 manholes. Each tank oxygen services must provide with a manhole prescribed in section 8 of the ASME code. Each tank have the manhole must provide the mean with the entrance exit of the jacket. The jacket must be marked with the indicator of the main location of the tank. Of the manhole bolted closure must be located with the front end of the tank. 178, 338, 7 the inlet with a liquid projector with the discharge opening with and the each of the tank with the intent with the limitable landings must be with the bottom of the center line with the tank leakage with a single valve except for the pressure relief valve, the pressure with the control valve of the fly, tricock with the gas variety phase, the manual vent valve with the would permit less for the flammable material addition with the closure with the leak type with the tank. Design pressure must be provided outward of the such valve with the 178, 338, 8. Pressure relief devices piping valve things. Pressure relief device E for the tank pressure relief device must be designed with the construction marker according to the 178, 318, B with the subchapter pipe the valve thing for the burst pressure of all the pipe and the pipe fitting with the hose with all the pressure property of the pump seal with the pressure relief devices must be at least 4 times the design pressure for the tank of the additional pressure. Burst pressure may not be less than 4 times with the high pressure for the each of the pipe fitting with the hose with each of the pressure must be subject to the service. The pipe joints must be threaded with the welded flames inside the pipe. Even the pipe fitting with the must be scheduled with the 80 weight with the heavier malleable metals must be even the construction of the valve fitting with wherever the copper tubing is permitted job joint shall be brave with the may be equal stronger metal with the union type of the metal pointing with the making the metal may not be lower than 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Method of the joining with the tube they may be reduced with the strength of the tubing except for the cutting of the threads. Each hose coupling must be designed with the pressure relief at 120% of the hose design and pressure ends over there and no leakage with the pipe fitting with the protect with the damage of the thermal extension with the contraction during vibration insulating joints are not authorized. The purpose of all the piping the valve, the fitting of the carburetor is provided with the free with the loop with the requirements to meet with the such piping the valve, fitting with the being tested insulation with the gas and improve the leak type, but not less than the design pressure marked on the cargo tank. This requirement with the applying with all hoses with the cargo tank, except for those hoses may be tested before after installation of the tank. Each valve must be suitable with the tank design pressure for the tank design service temperature. All fittings must be rated from the maximal tank pressure with the with a cold test temperature for the which for them with the subject with the actual surface with all pipe with the valve fittings that must be grouped within the smallest practicable space of the protection, but the damage is required 178, 338, 10. When pressure building the coil with the tank design with handling oxygen flame with liquid, the vapor the connection of the coil must be provided with the valve with the check of the valve with the clove of the tank of the shell protectable the prevent lost vapor of the tank the case of the damage of the liquid connection with the coil must also provide with the valve 178, 338, 9 holding time at the time determined with the test of the after the loading until the pressure content of the equilibrium conditions with the level of the lowest pressure with the control valve of the pressure relief valve setting. Holding time test. The test of determine the holding time test must perform charging with the tank with the hydrogen liquid having the boiling point of the pressure of 1 atmosphere for the absolute no lower than designed to serve the temperature of the tank that must be charged with the maximum permissible boiling density within the liquid stabilized lowest practical pressure that must be equally less than pressure to be used in loading of the car tank together with the contents must be so the temperature tank pressure for the vein temperature must be recorded at 3-hour interval until the reach of the pressure level of the contents reach the side discharge pressure of the pressure control of the each pressure relief valve within the segment of the total time lamp the hours representing the measured holding of the time actual average ambient temperature the measured holding of the time the test of cryogenic liquid must be added to the equivalent holding time of the cryogenic liquid that is identified as J-fin specification plane ambient temperature with 85 degrees Fahrenheit the rate of the holding time is marked with a rating, marked rating holding time display with the J-fin specification plate. May not see the rated holding time. Optional test regime. If more than one car tank is made with the same design, only one car tank must be subject to the full holding time of the test at the time of the manufacturer. However, the subsequent car tank made with the same design must be performed with the testing during the first trip of the holding time determined in this step that may not be less than 9% of the marked rated holding time. This must be performed in accordance with the 178, 318, G3, and the 180. 78 E40H of the subchapter of the chapter regardless of the classification cryogenic liquid. Same design with the same sound design. You the section may be the cargo tank that may be the same design as 178 320A with the definition design type. Cargo tank of the non-flammable cryogenic liquid serve the display of the holding time test prescribed paragraph B with the section of the market rating holding time is made to determine to solve the cargo tank of the satisfactory transfer rate. May be determined to measure the rate of the measuring the normal evaporation rate. The test of the cryogenic liquid preferably landing with a feasible dimension approximate 1 atmosphere. The calculated heat transfer rate must be determined from the following formula. The marked rating holding time and exceed the rate or the rated holding time 178, 38, 10. Exit damage protection. All valves, rating pressure, leaf devices, all their other accessing tank property not insulated with the tank closed with an intervention. Shut off valves, check valves must be installed with the motor vehicle, the framework, and collision resistant guard housing and appropriate ventilation must be provided. Each pressure relief device must be protected in the event of the upset of the vehicle with a hard surface. The device opening will not open be prevented, but the discharge will not be restricted. Each of the protected devices housing and attachment vehicle with a structure that must be designed with a withstand attack load in any direction may be loaded with the result of the front, rear side and side wiping collision overturn of the vehicle with a stack loading shall equal to twice the loading weight of the tank of attachment safety factor of 4 based on the tensile strength of the material that shall be used. The protective device of the housing must be made with a seal of at least 3/16 inch thick or other material equivalent strength. Rear end of the tank projection. Rear end tank projection device consists of at least one rear bumper designed with the protective cover tank with the vent with the rear end with the collision. Rear end tank of protection design transmit the force of the collision directly chassis with the vehicle with the rear end tank of the protection device vehicle with the rear end the tank of the protective device attachment chassis is designed to with the same with the local load equal to twice the weight loading cargo tank of the attachment use the safety factor of 4 load base and tensile strength of the materials used with such loading that apply the force normally apply with applicable parallel to the major axis of the cargo tank of the rear end of the protection device. The dimension must meet the requirements of 3839 the 86 of the height adequate to protect all valve fittings located with the rear of the cargo tank with an image of the could result in the loss of the landing. Form of the requirements 178 345 AB. Every part of the loading cargo associated valve with the pipe with enclosure protected pipe for the closure exclusive of the wheel assembly must be at least 14 inches above the level of the ground. 178 338 11 discharge control device. Each flow valve does not require each liquid failing the liquid dispenser discharge line must be provided with a shutoff valve located with the clove of the tank of the pressure with it until the length of the valve is mainly operable. The valve of the line must have also manned shutoff valve except for the cargo tank that used to transport argon, carbon dioxide, helium, krypton, and nitrogen mixture thereof. Each of the liquid fueling discharge line must be provided with the on vehicle with a remotely controlled self closing shelf valve. The pressure of the reserve of the from the entire drying driven pump with a compressor with a U to open with this valve and the control bay must have the fail-safe design spring base of the stop of the emission shuts the pressure for the cargo tank of the jack of the non as created with the seat of the valve must be inside of the tank of the opening now flame in the companion flames both with the nozzle of the jacket is activated with the remotely controlled valve must be located with the clove of the tank of this practical. Each remotely controlled shell valve with the valve must be provided with the vehicle with the remote with the nozzle me with the automatic closure with the both mechanical and thermal with the me with the maybe closure over the more than one remotely controlled valve cable linkage between the closure and the remote operator that must be corrosion resistant and effective in all type of the environment. Whether the thermal is means for the mass consist of the fusible element, the accumulated actuated temperature not exceeding 250 degrees Fahrenheit. Will the device loading and unloading connections are within the hose connected with the permanent metal pipe with the number of location remote operative thermal device and shall be as well with a cargo tank motor vehicle with a 3,500 gallon water capacity remotely installed with the automatic closure be installed with the ends of the cargo tank with the leaf diagonal on-site location loading and unloading cargo tank is not with the general vicinity with the location. At least one additional thermal devices must be installed with the heat of the fire loading and unloading conditions will activate with the emergency control system on the cargo tank of the motor vehicle with a 3,500 water gallon capacity with less one remote means the automatic charge must be installed at the end of the cargo tank furthest away from the loading and unloading connection area. At least one thermal device must be installed with the heat from the fire with loading and unloading connection area active the emergency control system. Or 178 338 12 shear section. Under the valve is located with the rear cabinet with a forward protected improper bump of the design of the installation. Each of the valve damage which could result in the loss of the liquid of the valve of the must incorporate the shear check for the rear the cover adjacent to the outboard of the valve of the shear section break. The valve room must be with the brake over the under the train without the damage of the valve would allow with the loss of the liquid vapor. The protection of the specimen the 178 338 10 is not suitable for the shear section of the breakage group. 178 338 13 supporting anchor with the uncargo tank and motor vehicle with the control with the over the car tank extends with the hole with the part with the structural member the U with the plate for the motor vehicle the frame with the tower tank with the tank. Jacks must be supported with the external cradle with the overload over the rings of the cargo tank mounted with the motor vehicle with the tank of the jack with it must be supported with external cradles load rings launch member the cradles or U with the must be sub 10 with the 120 degree with the cargo tank with the circumference difference of the calculation support with loading. Bearing tank jack with support with attachment must include the bearing strap of the stress corrosion strap of the bending of the moment the acceleration strap of the loading vehicle unit with a safety factor of the floor with a base fill and 10 full strength with the material of the attack loading using the wave of the car tank of attachments of hill with the design wave of the landing with the appendix G with the section A with the ASME code IBR 171.7 with the subchapter multiplied by the following factor with the fact of the fatigue must consider the calculation minimum static loading must be as follows for the vacuum insulated cargo tank vertically downward 2 vertically upward 2 longitudinal 2 laterally 2 for any other insulated cargo tank of the vertical download 3 with the vertical upward 2 longitudinal 2 lateral 2 with the wind loaded and tank with the support with a vacuum over the stack with a structural member of the design calculation of the tank of the structural member that must be based on satisfactory flow and tensile strength of the material, the ambient temperature with the enhanced string, tensile strength of the material, the actuating operating with the base substitute with the tensile string, ambient temperature extend with the recognized ASME code with the stack condition, loading condition. Stack loadings must be in consideration weight of the tank of the structural member, the tank of the shell with the design weight with the division of the landing of the appendix G with the section A of division 1 append ASME multiplied following factors static loading may be also considered the weight of the tank of the structural member, the women in the tank of the field with the design weight with the landing in section A of the ASME code multiplied with the following factors loading remove the jacket even supporting the tank of the must be designed with carry out the full loading tank of the specified the static loading plus external pressure maximum static loading must be as follows: vertical downward 2 with the vertically upward 1.5, longitudinal 1.5, 4, laterally 1.5. Alright, 178, 338, 14 gauge device, liquid leveling gauge device on length of the cargo tank is inflated with a fill with the wave that must be equipped with one more gauging device for the accurately indicate the maximum pressure permitted liquid level, the loading pressure for that in order to provide a minimum of a 2% of the average of below the 2 pressure of the control valve of the one of the pressure leaves the valve position and simply opening the valve with the fixed length with the dip tube with a fixed tricock line differential pressure liquid. Level the gauge of the must be within primary control of the filling with other gauges except for the gauge of the gap that may be the primary control of the filling. The design pressure for each liquid of the gauging device must be at least over that the tank of the fixed level length of the dip tube with the tricock line with the gauging device. You must consider the pipe of the tube, the small diameter, equipped with the valve of that near the jacket send into the cargo tank is specified the veiling of the height of the fixed height of the which for the tube end, but the cargo tank must touch for the device the function the liquid reach for the maximum level permitted with loading liquid level the gauging device primary control of the filling is designed and so the actuate indicate the maximum fill with the filling level the point of midway of the tank of longitudinal and laterally pressure for the gauge of the each of the cargo tank must provide with a suitable pressure gauge with the indicating the landing of the pressure located with the front of the jacket so with the ready with the driver the rear view mirror each gauge must be a reference mark with the cargo tank design pressure set with the pressure relief valve with the pressure control valve whichever is the lowest orifice opening dip tube with the gauge is device of the pressure gauge with the flame of the cryogenic liquid surface of the restricted inside of the jacket. The orifice is no longer than 60,000 inch diameter. The tricock lines in provided with maybe greater than 1/2 inch nominal pipe size. 178, 338, 15 cleanliness. Cargo tank constructed for the action surface thoroughly cleanly to remove the foreign material of the corners with the CGAC G41. All loose particle fabrication weld debris for the grinding weld debris for the other loose material that must remove the prior with the final closure main hole of the tank of the cleaning solvent with the cleaning of the material compatible with the intending landing must be performed to move all any contaminants likely would react with the landing. 178, 338, 16. Inspection testing. The general, the material for the construction for the testing and previously been inspected with the components in section A of the SME code of the tank of the must be shown either hydrostatic or pneumatic type of the test pressure must be used with 1 and 1.5 times the sum of the design pressure for the supply for the static heading load head of the landing plus 101.3 kilopascal. The subject external vacuum except for the tank of the construction according to the part UAC section A of the SME code of the test pressure to test twice the design pressure. Additional lines with the pneumatic test. The pneumatic test may be used to play with the hydrostatic debris with regard with the protection of the personal should be designed to take with the potential has been involved with the pneumatic test. The pneumatic test pressure for the tank of the must be reached with a gradually increase the pressure for the 1/2 of the test pressure. Therefore, after the test pressure must be increased the steps approximately 1/10 of the test pressure until where test pressure has been reached. The pressure must be reduced with a value equal to 4/5 of the test of the times of the pressure and a held with a sufficient time to permit the inspection of the cargo tank for the weeks. Leaks. Welding inspection tank shell with the hand weld with the subject with the pressure for the shell with the radiograph the corners with the section A with the SME CAD tank with the have the subject with the inspection method, magnetic particle the method, liquid penetration method, the aim of the method involved with the material to have the interior tank surface must be cleaned to remove any residual scrubbing of the equal effect for the means that all of the residual cleaning solution must remove the tank of the prior of the final closure of the tank. Defects repair all cracks and other defects repair with the described in section A with the SME code with the welding procedure must be called according to the section of the 9 of the ASME code after the repair of the tank must game of the post weld the heat treatment of the previously performed repair to air with the retested verification must be made with the interior cleanliness of the tank construction oxygen service by with the assurance all the contaminants are likely to react with landing that have been removed required in 178 338 15 178 338 17 pumps express the liquid and cabas for us with the suitable design that adequately protect against the break of the collision kept in good condition driven by the motor vehicle the power taken off the other mechanical, electrical, hydraulic means of the air. Central vehicle type of the air should be equipped with a suitable pressure actuated bypass valve with the permitted flow of the discharge suction to the tank. A valve fitting of the made with aluminum with the internal rubbing of the braided aluminum part of the made with the contact with the oxygen cryogenic liquid maybe so the cargo tank with the transportation oxygen cryogenic liquid in left the parts are ionized with the corner of the ASME B50 and 580. 178 318 and 178 178-338-18 marking. Use the cargo tank certified October 1st, 2004, months after the corrosion metal name with a plate with a specification plate with a permanently tap of the cargo to breathing welding other suitable mean with the left side near the front plate successfully inspection specification plate with the attached directly with the cargo tank of the weld with the must be welded in before with the cargo tank of the 12 welded heated treated plates may be legible marked with the same thing boxing and other means of forming the metal with the plate with the information required with the paragraph EFC with the section addition with the required section 8 of the SME code with the in character release of 3/8 of an inch parenthetical abbreviations all of the plate must be maintained with legible condition. Each insulated with the cargo tank must be additional plate with the described with the for the jack of the location specified unless the specification applied to the for the chassis have the information required with the paragraph B of the C with the section information required with both the name and specification of the plate with the display with the single plate with the information required with the section of the display with the plate required with the section A of the SME code information need not to be repeated. And then specification plate may be detached for the cargo tank motor vehicle, the traffic, rail bracing, welding, and other suitable means. The left side of the head of the plate successful for inspection and specification and attached with the chassis with the rail, the cargo tank here with the number of the assigned of the cargo tank manufacturer included with the name included on the plate the name. For the information must be marked on the name, then corner for the section dot specification number, the MC338, original test date, the maximum level working pressure of the cargo tank, pressure of the PSI gauge, cargo tank design, temperature of the design, temperature range from 0 degrees Fahrenheit, normal capacity, water capacity in pounds, maximum density of the landing of the maximum landing density in pounds per gallon, material specification number to shovel the material YYY or in past 3 triple S's, YYY replaced with the alloy designation triple asterisk, replaced with the alloy type. Material specification number to head with the head material, the YYY, whether the YYY is replaced with the designation triple asterisk alloy type, the welded material, minimum thickness, minimum shell thickness, and minimum shell thickness not the same with the different area with the top, the side, of the bottom, of the inch of the minimum thickness, and the minimum head thickness, of the manufacturer thickness, manufacturer shell thickness, top side, of the bottoms of the required with additional thickness with the corrosion with the corrosion allowed with the manufacturer thickness to have the minute have an inch with additional thickness with the provide with the corrosion allowance on the exposed surface area with the square feet with the specification of the following information must be marked with the specification of accordance with the specification car tank motor vehicle with the manufacturer with the car tank motor vehicle the certification detail of the car tank manufacturer the car tank manufacturer of the month of the year maximum weight laying within pound with maximum loading rate with the gallons per minute maximum unloading rate with the gallons per minute. Lining material with the if and applicable insulated with the oxygen for the down insulated oxygen for the appropriate mark rate with the holding time of the one cryogenic liquid within hours, the number of the name of the cryogenic marked rate holding time in hours, name of the cryogenic liquid mark rate holding time marking additional cryogenic liquid may be displayed with adjacent to the specification plate. Cargo tank serial, the number of the design with the cargo tank manufacturer is applicable to the design weight of the landing of the terminating loading 178, 338, 3B, 330. 10B and C and 338 13B may be shown the maximum weight landing marking required in paragraph C of the section. Alright, 178 338 19 certification at before the time of the delivery of manufactured car tank and motor vehicle to have furnished for the owner with the completed vehicle of the tank manufacturer data report with the required with the ASME code with the certification bearing with the manufactured vehicle starting and serial number showing the name of the complete with the car tank and motor vehicle that conforms all the applicable requirements specification MC 338 Collect section 8 with the ASME code and the effect of the date of the month and year of the certification registration number of the manufacturer design certification engineer of the registered inspector appropriately must appear with the certificate subpart F of part 117 subpart chapter B of this chapter photograph handle rubbing or other fastened off plates required with the paragraph A and B of the 178 338 through 18 cave of the cargo tank of the vehicle the manufacturer 2 more say with each manufacturer perform the manufacturer operation complete vehicle portion with therefore the shell with the C of the manufacturer before the time of delivery certificate covering the particular operation performed by the manufacturer. Any certificates received with the previous manufacturer, registered inspection, design certification, engineer certificates, including sufficient sketches and drawings. Other information with the indicate the location, make of the mile side of the valve arrangement, all of the piping of the associated with the tank. Each certification must be assigned an official with the manufacturer responsible for the portion of cargo and the cargo tank of the representative thereby with the tank of the fabrication. Insulation, jacketing, piping, final manufacturer shall furnish for the owner with the certificate all well as the documents paragraph A of the section. The owner shall retain the data report certificate related paper the real of the ownership of the cargo in the event the trial of the ownership of the prior owner shall remain with the non-fading with a photograph that was the copy of the document at least once a year with each operator owned with the one cargo tank of the vehicle. The owner shall retain the copy of the data of the certificate of the certificates of the retain them during the time of the head of the cargo tank for at least 1 year thereafter. After 178 340 through 343 reserved 178 345.